What is up, everyone? Welcome to yet another live stream. This is week number 64, episode number 64 of the Camera Junkie live stream. Thank you, as always, for taking the time and spending it here with me. And if you're new here, my name's Lewis. I also am known as MrCameraJunkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it is the first time here, make sure that you say hello in the chat so that you can get the Camera Junkie welcome. We have an amazing community here, and I would love to get to know you as well. And with that being said, welcome once again. Saturday night. Club Camera Junkie, and today we're going to be talking about camera brands as if we were starting anew. What camera company has your attention with what has already come out and with what is about to come out? There is speculation. Last week we talked about the mystery camera that Sony still hasn't really declared what it is, and the A9 III and the A7R5, which after a week I've learned that it's more rumored to like the 100 megapixels for the R series and a couple of other things that are coming up, but it's all still speculation. And when it comes to Sony, they always hold their information close to the chest. So with that, we're going to get into a little bit of that, and back and forth. I would love to hear what you have, like what camera company has your attention at the moment, that if maybe you weren't already invested into a particular line, that you might just start anew. And I think it's just a fun mental exercise to see exactly what type of photography or videography you actually do the most. So with that, all right, we have Tony in the house. He says he has a Canon, have 4 Canon 80D cameras. Oh, that's actually a really good camera. That one was one of the ones with dual pixel autofocus. So even for video, autofocuses very well. And 1 Sony a6400. They all work great with Ecamm. Never had a problem with them at all. Yep. Melanie's also here. She's saying Team Sony. I'm also Team Sony right now, but the exercise is like, if I wasn't invested in this, right, what is the deciding factor for you to actually get into a camera or a particular type of camera company? Oh, Ben is in the house as well. It says, I love my Panasonic GH5 and I'm intrigued with the GH6, but the Sony has my attention. Okay, that's good to know. We're going to get into that. Mr. Sarkeesian is also here saying good evening to everyone. Scott Rogers saying hello to the crew. Ben saying hello to everyone. Okay, and we have Deontay Cameron. I'm debating on between the Sony ZV-1, ZV-E10, A7C, and A7 IV. With the price of the lens being so similar, focal length wise, what would you recommend? I do vlogging, travel, product, tech videos, by the way. Well, thank you for giving me a little bit of insight, but it really depends on your use case, right? So from what you're seeing here, it says vlogging. Whenever I hear somebody say vlogging, I'm always going to lean towards something that's lightweight, something small, compact, that's going to be easy to carry. I don't own one myself, but if it's something that you've been interested, the ZV-1 being the smallest compact that you don't have to carry around a variety of lenses, it fits in your pocket and it could give you, quite a bit of, how would you say? It gives you options because it's also a zoom camera. You're not really stuck to a focal length or anything like that. And portability is going to be the biggest thing. Though the one negative to the ZV-1 is the battery life. It uses these microscopic little batteries. I have some down here. They're very, very small. So if you were to go lean into that side, I would definitely tell you get a dual charger with some extra batteries. And that would be for the vlogging. Anything else, and that you mentioned as well, that the price of the lenses being similar, that's where I have to, have to differ. Full frame lenses are extremely more expensive, and that's why when it comes to certain video work and things like that, I lean towards the APS-C side, because there are certain advantages that exist there. First of all, the same types of batteries that you could use, and not necessarily not the A6400, but let's say the Sony A6600 that uses the Z-type battery. That body with that battery is going to give you an extremely extended amount of battery life compared to a full frame. And then when it comes to the prices of lenses of APS-C compared to full frame, it's not even like a third of it. The lens that I'm using right now is a 16mm f1.4, and it's an equivalent to a 24mm. That's the look that I like. For me to get a fast enough lens to reproduce this type of image in full frame for my full frame camera, I'm looking at the 24mm G Master f1.4, which I believe runs like $1,300 to $1,400. So you're adding basically an extra grand on top of anything when it comes to the APS-C size. So if it falls within your budget, I wouldn't ever tell someone not to go into full frame when it comes to photography. But if you're doing more video and vlogging is one of the things that you're doing, tech, I would still say that you can get by doing photography with an APS-C camera comparative to full frame, and it will be easier for you to travel with and use it for all of your production comparative to full frame, and it will save you money. So not necessarily exactly like that, but that's just right off the top of my head. That's what I would kind of recommend. It really all has to do with your budget and your use case, but let me see here. Give me 1 second. Just to show, look at this thing. This is my full frame camera, right? And that's just a standard zoom lens. That's my 24 to 70 f4, and I just have it with the microphone, XLR connection on a cage, and this thing's already pretty heavy. So if I were gonna be vlogging with this and connecting it's probably gonna be a no-go. That's why I say I prefer my A6100. It's got a flip-up screen. It's got everything that I need, because that's what I've used it, but I'm also not a vlogger. If I needed to vlog, I could adapt my camera to do so, and it's a lot more convenient and way more compact than anything that I can do full frame with even the widest, shortest lens. That's why I lean towards that. But then when it comes to photography and portraits, that's my go-to. Full frame all day because of the use case scenario. And that is going to allow me to roll into the conversation a little bit more of we have preferences with cameras, but what is a camera really, right? So let me just say hello to John, who's stopping in, saying hello to everyone. Also, we have Dr. Elo. What's up, bro? Wepa. And John says that he owns the ZV-1. It's a great camera. It is a great camera, right? And here's a tip, pro tip for anyone. Whenever you're using these cameras, if you're using it for video, even if it's a screen like my A7R, right? Flip it open. Just disconnect it and separate it from the body. It's gonna dissipate the heat a lot better and prevent you from getting any overheating issues or warnings, for the simple reason that people forget that the LCD itself, as it's displaying the image to you, is creating heat. And as the heat is coming off the back of the camera, you're sandwiching the heat that's being produced from the LCD and pushing it right into where the camera is trying to relieve itself from heat, and that's when you'll get the quick overheat issues or warnings. So whether you're using a ZV-1 flip up, flip out, even if it's something like this that is not really designed for it and it's more photography type of camera or hinge on the back of the LCD, I recommend just extending it out to allow the airflow, and you shouldn't have any problems with overheating. So now, cameras, what are they really? Back in the day when we used to deal with things like this, right? Film. How you doing, Kali? Saying hello to everybody. Welcome. This is what we used to deal with, right? So like these cameras that I have hanging up there, my old film cameras, the thing that would determine the way that your image would look was this right here. And the thing that determined how the image was impressed onto said film like this had to do with the piece of glass that you put in front of it, the lens. That's why I always say glass before ass. Optics are always more important than the camera body. And this is because if you can't get a crystal clear image, whether it be onto an electronic sensor or a piece of film on the back of your camera, that image quality is going to suffer because we're talking about light. And that's what cameras do. We capture and we paint with light. So a camera, or better said, a digital camera, is literally just a compensation, maybe is the word, or an adaptation to not have to carry around film. So let's say that, an adaptation, for the reason that you had the ability to carry around different types of film to give you different types of images. So you could be carrying around Kodak at 200, and then you could be using Fujifilm for 1600, you know, on your ISA, or, you know, how we talk now, your ISO, right? So if your film speed was 1600, that had to do with the sensitivity and the brand that you would put into your camera literally determined how those colors would get rendered. And instead of having film stock, now we have our digital cameras, and that's why we're so attached to them, because our digital cameras have now replaced what we used to use as our film stock. And there was a lot of photographers who I hear conversations even till today talk about that they would swear by a particular type of film, and that they were wedding shooters and they would only use a particular type of speed for all types of photography because it gave them their signature look. And that's the same thing that we're dealing with when it comes to cameras. But I digress, because I still feel, like I said, that the optics are more important than the camera body. So there are certain things that people love about Canon cameras, but I feel to think that it has to do more with their optics, because the image that the sensor is picking up is being rendered through the color space and the technology that is the camera, but the optics are what's super important. And a company like Canon references that all the time. They say themselves, we're not a camera company, we're a lens company who makes cameras for our lenses. So with that, that's when I bring this up to you, right? I picked up this little guy, the Fujifilm. Oh, that wasn't the button that I was trying to get to. That one, the XT1. And the reason why I picked up a Fujifilm camera last year, was it last year or the year before? I've had it for a while. I think it was the year before, believe it or not. It's because Fuji is famous for having a thing called film simulation, which emulates old stock film. So there are, even though Fuji has put their own little twist and names onto it, what has actually happened is that they have emulations of their own film, old Kodak Portras. I think one of them is called Bleach Bypass, which has to do with even the way that the images were made in post to get a particular type of imagery out of these cameras. And people who are big into Fuji absolutely love that about their cameras. That's why I picked it up. Myself, I grabbed adapters so that I can use my vintage lenses. Focus, there you go. No, come on, there we go. As you can see, this is my Helios f2, and this is the 58 millimeter, the M44-4, right? Oh, 44M-4. Got it a little bit off. And this gives a very signature look. People love using this Helios lens because it has a particular type of busy background, which is called swirly. It literally looks like all what we would consider the bokeh, right? The background blurriness, and it creates kind of like a tunnel effect. So when it comes to portraits, a lot of people would use a particular film stock with this lens to create their signature look. And that's where I go back to it. The cameras that we're using now are now replacing all the different types of film and film stock. So there's a lot of people who, because their new camera actually has replaced the entire plethora of different film stocks and speeds that they used to carry around, now it becomes their one and only, right? When before, photographers, even though they had a particular type of camera, and let's say it was a film camera, right, like my Zenit, that is where natively this lens would find itself, I would be more I'd be more willing to test out a different type of film to give me a different type of look with the lens that was already my favorite, comparative to having to change my entire camera to adapt it so that I can use my favorite lens. And that's where I bring my point to. When it comes to the cameras, right, and the camera that I would get if I was starting all over again, I think personally I would have a really, really hard time, because the technology that is implemented in all of these cameras, whether it be Fuji, Sony, Canon, Nikon right now, and even this new Olympus WOW camera that is rumored to be also very well in the micro four thirds, there's also advantages that you can get from the micro four thirds system when it comes to frame rates and their like world leading image stabilization, if you were interested in vlogging, right? And that wobble or shakiness while you're hand holding is what matters to you. So the use case scenario is one of the primary things that should direct you on where you would go if you were starting new with your cameras today. But I would also have to recommend that the piece of glass that is your favorite or that you're most interested in, depending on the type of photography or videography that you want to do, is where your efforts should lie. Once you find your go-to lens and the image that's going to be what you would consider your own signature look, in today's day and age, with adapters like this Photosay that allows me to adapt it to my Fuji camera, but the same way I can grab a Photosay for my Sony camera and then use this lens on that camera as well. The same with Canon and Nikon. And with all of the adaptability that we're experiencing now, I think that, you shouldn't get stuck too much on a camera company or even following a brand. I think you should be looking to create your own signature look, whether it's with something that you find extremely convenient, or if it's something that is vintage, rare, and gives you a look like no other. So that's my 2 cents when it comes to where I would go. I honestly don't know. Right now I'm with Sony because when it comes to work and autofocus, that's what I rely on. But when it comes to everything else, there's a variety of different cameras, and it's really hard for you to go wrong with any camera with today's technology. And the only thing that it leaves me with is being excited for the future of photography and videography, because there's really is, like, the sky's the limit. I'm gonna touch again, when it comes to megapixels, everyone's harping about that, and I think people haven't really caught on that the processing power of the camera has more to do with the megapixel count than the actual sensor. You're dealing with two things: sensor readout and processing. And if you're able to maximize on both of those things, you have pretty much a unlimited amount of pixels, because the final product, right, like the image and how many pixels is rendered from top to bottom, left to right, and how sharp, has to also do with how your camera is computing. So that's where there are differences from film from back in the day comparative to the cameras that we deal with today. It was not too long ago, when we were dealing with DSLRs, and you were more like pigeonholed into a particular type of brand of camera company or so on. But I think that with the way things have moved along now, naturally, we're at an amazing place. I mentioned to you guys again, I shot a video on this channel that, like I said, is done very well, and it's like a little secret that I shot it with my 13-year-old Sony NEX6 camera, and nobody could tell the difference. So once you understand that you can create good imagery with just about anything, your preferences shouldn't be all on the technology. Because once you upgrade your skills, there we go. See? Ah, there we go. Shout out to the mug. Once you upgrade your skills, then you have the ability to use pretty much any camera, whatever you desire. There are certain things that are my pet peeves. Like I mentioned, team flip up. I really don't like flip out screens. The more that I see them, I'm just like, I think we could come up with something better. I think we have, and I think people are just so adverse to change that they will continue. But I could be wrong. It could be more for videography, right? If you're doing way more video and you're taking your camera and you're rigging it out with a cage and everything like that. I've even seen some setups from Caleb Pike, DSLR video shooter, that I see the purpose in having a screen on the side or a flip out screen comparative to flip up. But like I said, I still have my own preferences, and that's where I draw my line in the sand. Team flip up. But let me see what you guys think about what I just said. If you have any questions about this or anything that you might have heard of rumor, because it could spark something. I know that Micro Four Thirds as well, like that camera that I mentioned. Sony has come out with a stacked Micro Four Thirds sensor, and they sold it to a company, and I don't remember which one it was. And I want to see what is possible, right? Because there's a couple of things that are being speculated, which is to see if Sony might bring out an APS-C camera with an even higher megapixel count, which is a possibility because of pixel density, so to speak, and how much information can be read out from these sensors. So that's a conversation for another day. That's why, like on my Sony A7R, I have a 42 megapixel sensor, but once it's compressed down to APS-C by adding a lens of that manner or by doing it manually, it will compress it down to an 18 megapixel file because it's literally losing photo sites to being able to render that information out effectively. So let's go back to the chat. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so Kali was saying great tip on preventing overheating. Sly is in the house. I'm glad that you were able to make it. I've missed you on the live stream. How are you? Says I'm learning more and more towards action. I'm leaning more and more towards action cameras. They're much hardier, i.e. waterproof, drop-proof, resistant, etc., than regular cameras, and they're smaller, lighter for vlogging. You see, that's actually a really good suggestion when it comes to vlogging, because you know, I'll be the first one to tell you, I never think of those cameras when it comes to being a camera in general. Like how I don't really do action sports and I don't have one myself, I don't put them in the mix with my, you know, like with my mindset. But I was watching a video just this week, and it was from the YouTube channel Danny. Oh, did I just ruin his name? I think I did. But Danny Manning, and he did a video comparing the GoPro 10, and I forgot, it was another budget option, right? So it was basically like the $400 or $500 camera versus the $200 camera. And at the beginning of the video, he literally just put a side by side, cut dead center of both cameras while he's walking to the beach. And not only could I tell the difference right off the bat, like not like it was completely obvious. I was like, that's GoPro and that's who's trying to be the competitor. But I was really amazed with how good the GoPro 10 looks. I was really amazed. I was like, this is much better than I think even an iPhone camera, right? Which I'm using right now, the 11 Pro, and I'm impressed with what you're able to do with it. This is not even like the latest, right? The 13 that's supposed to have even more advanced capabilities and features, and I'm pleasantly surprised with the results that I get from my iPhone. And with that being said, I still think that the GoPro 10 just like beats it hands down. Stabilization is incredible, and like you said, they're so small, they're so convenient, light for vlogging. You're not gonna kill yourself or your shoulders, right? Carrying around and holding that out, it's probably got to be super easy. Oh, you probably hear Aiden hanging out back here, having a blast as always. So yeah, see, like so if you're thinking about vlogging, the GoPro 10 could be a very viable option. Says, do you think the new Sony mystery camera, says Deontay, and hopefully I said that correct. I think the new Sony mystery camera will be a new APS-C camera, a ZV-2, maybe even an update to the A7C. I mentioned that last week, an update to the A7C. I would love a flip-up A7C, right? A full screen, or better said, a A6400, A6600 body, but full frame. Sold. That would be me. That's right, John. And like he says, don't forget to hit that button. All right, go take care of that, and it's highly appreciated. It doesn't cost anything, right? It's free, and it's almost like the way I see hitting the like button is like wiping your feet at somebody's door, right? Before you walk into somebody's house, it's just common courtesy to just wipe your feet at the mat before you come in. So hit that like button. Do that. It's highly appreciated. Carlos is in the house saying, exactly, just like golf clubs, no need to upgrade until you hit a certain level of mastery. That's a really good analogy. That is really good. I like that. Like, there is, right? You need to learn what you have first. That's really cool. Charles is also here saying hello to all the junkies. Well, we're all over the world, man. Camera junkies. Like, that's why I have to thank you guys again for hanging out with me and taking your most precious commodity, which is your time, to hang out with me. This is, like I say, the highlight of my weekend. The highlight of my week, just to hang out and talk cameras and just constantly be in the know, in the speculation, like having my mind or my curiosity run away with me, because there's so much amazing technology, and I'm a techie, right? But with that being said, I'm also like, I guess the way that I would put it is like, I also know the word enough, right? Because yeah, I could have gas, but I think I do very well to suppress it, right? Because there's so many great cameras that I would want to go buy and just want to, but I'm like, what I decided to do was double up on the camera that I had already. So I had an A6100 and I bought another A6100. I got a great deal on it, so it was less expensive than even buying the ZV-10. Excuse me, the ZV-E10, right? So I invested in that, and like I said, I'm extremely happy. It's almost impossible to mess up the colors because they're the same exact cameras. I'm using similar lenses, so I'm using Sigma glass on both of these. This is the 30mm f1.4, and ahead here as my main shot I have the 16mm f1.4. So with that, I'm getting the same type of like color tones, being that they're in the same line of lenses. The contemporary lens from Sigma, and being the same camera allows me to color grade and keep everything nice and neat, super tight, very easy, very easy. Randall is in the house saying hello to me and to everyone. How are you doing, sir? Welcome as always. Charles is saying sorry that that he joined late. No, man, thank you for stopping by. He said he had a senior moment and fell asleep in his chair. Hey, man, then we're all seniors, because I'll tell you the truth. I'm 40 years old, and if I sit down, my body just goes, oh, it's rest time, and it's like I fall asleep. So it happens to the best of us, man. And I just find that funny. I think I mentioned that here before, that's one of the reasons as well why I do my live streams standing up. It just keeps all of the energy going in the right direction. If I were to sit down, I could be completely engaged into the conversation, and then the next thing you know, I'm going to be like, and yawning like crazy, doing all this crazy stuff. And just to let you know, that yawn was 100% real. That's in the moment. That's like pulling a tear when you're acting, right? When somebody has that power. I can think about yawning and I start yawning. That's supernatural. Well, I don't think you guys have any questions about this, but if you guys have any particular type of camera that you're interested in and you think that you want to look into, because actually Randall here says Nikon Z7 or the Z7 II, same megapixels as the Nikon Z9 but cost less. I already have the live stream cameras but want one more for outdoors. For that question right there, I wouldn't go with the Z9. First of all, because it's really expensive. It's an amazing camera, but for what you do as far as photography, I don't think it's necessary. Second, it's almost impossible to get, because Nikon, even though they produce cameras, they really can't get it to you. So it being in your hands and functioning so that you can do whatever you want with it, that's where I think Nikon is really dropping the ball. So that's why I wouldn't recommend that camera. If you can get a Z7 or a Z7 II, it'd be great. But if we're talking about you in particular, I also know that you have Sony cameras as well. and Sony glass. So it just really depends. And me going back to it, right? Crazy. Glass before ass. Where or which is your favorite lens? Which is the lens that you love to use all the time and that you're like, oh, if I want to put it on my camera, like, because I'll tell you the truth, when it comes to photography, my A7R2, I'm doing my 85mm all day for portraits. Standard photography with the same camera, I'm using my 55mm Zeiss. For video, that is what I've been using mostly with this camera for as of late. I am 100% been using the Zeiss. Let's see over here, the Zeiss 70. Or listen to me, I can't even get these words out. The Zeiss 24-70 F4 Oss. This guy right here. Should cover my face. Come on. That guy right there. Boom. Why? Because this has steady shot inside. It also has image stabilization. When they're working together, this is an amazing combination. And even at f4, I flood this place with light, so I make it extremely bright to show you. I could make things blown out white. So I'm gonna change my camera, and this is what I call full power. So I'll come here and extremely white. So then once I have extremely amounts of light, open up the shades and get as much sunlight, I start running that camera at 120 frames per second, slow motion, and get some really good B-roll handheld. Aiden doesn't like all the white lights, so we're changing it back. Okay? Oh, give me 1 second. Let me take care of Aiden. I think his cartoon's turned off. But if you guys have any questions, leave them down there. Any cameras I wouldn't talk to, I'll get back to them in just a second. I will be right back. Okay, thank you for that time. Aiden's good to go now, and let's check to see exactly what we have here in chat. Randall said, I did the same thing last night. I woke up and found out that my favorite lazy boy is going to be a junk pile because it broke. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Says, Deity D4 Duo, one of the Deity D3 mics, or the new Rode Go 2 for audio under $100. Rode Go 2 for under $100? I'm not even familiar with that one, so I'm not sure. I will tell you that when it came to my microphone, I've had it for years now, before the new Deities came out with the multiple connections so that you can split the audio. So I still have this guy as my vlogging under $100 microphone, and I'm probably going to be making a video on this guy soon. This is the old school Rode Video Micro. This one I paid $60 for, and the thing that still impresses me more than anything about this microphone is this windscreen. This windscreen is really, really good. And to get things that are comparable to this windscreen pretty much costs like around $40 for any microphone itself. So the way that I saw this microphone was that it's basically a $20 microphone with a $40 windscreen on it, which is ridiculous. But the fact that you get a right coat, like mount the microphone with the windscreen for $60, it was a no-brainer. The reason why I went with this one over the others were, and the deities right now, they're okay, but the reason why I went with this one is because it had no battery. Like, I could show you a microphone right here, like this guy right here. It uses a battery, and the worst thing that happens is that after you record, as it happens, right? Happens to all of us, we forget to turn it off. And when I go to grab it to use it the next day, I can't, because of the simple reason that it's dead. And now I am forced to use onboard camera audio, and that's not going to work for anything. Ever since I grabbed that, never had to worry about it because it uses pass-through power, or what's called plug-in power. And after using plug-in power, every time that you turn on the camera, it's going to be active, it's going to sound good. I took the preamps on my A6100, brought them all the way down, and that microphone works very well. Now, if this new Rode Go 2 is something like that, then I would have to take a look at it to see, what are the benefits comparative. That one and Rode microphones in general sound very well with my voice, so I've been happy with the output that I get from Rode. But I would have to say it just depends, because the ones that I know, the Rode Go 2, are wireless, and if it's the wireless ones, that's like $300. So that's why I'm not thinking that that's what that is. But the deity microphones, I've heard them, I've never used them, so I'm always going by somebody else's voice. People who use them, like a fellow content creator, Justin McDonough, also known as Donna Did It. He loves deity, he swears by it, and he's an audio engineer. He does he owns like a music studio with his wife, and he does music all throughout the week, and then on top of that has a YouTube channel doing cameras and other things like that. So awesome content creator, really cool dude, and yeah, that's what I would have to say about that when it comes to deity. Richard says that he is patiently waiting for the Fujifilm X-H2. Yeah, that one looks very interesting. But, talking about the Fujifilm cameras, because I know you're into, your Fuji 100%, which is cool. Was it the cameras that got you into Fuji, or was it the lenses? Because that would be my question to you, Richard. Like, what was it that got you with Fuji first over anything? Because when it came to photography with me before video, was the lenses. Like, I was shooting Canon because of the Canon L series lenses, even the F4, right? Like the F4 L series lens, which was the first L series Canon lens that I owned. That thing would get me such amazing images. And because it was a solid F4, using it outdoors for portraits, bokeh, the whole thing, and it was just so consistent, so great, and image stabilized. I'll tell you the truth, that lens is so good. Look, that lens is so good that I do not doubt that I will end up picking up that lens once again. I'm gonna see it for a good deal. I'm gonna see it on OfferUp, something that I can't pass it up, and I'm gonna be like, you know what? I have to grab it because it's such a great lens. You can go back to some of the videos on this channel when I first started, and it shows you how clearly I was adapting that lens for video on my Sony camera. That was the A6000 back then, and because I had that lens for photography, when I started shooting more video when I got my Sony camera was when I started using that lens a lot more for video. And through the native adapter that I have, it was using the autofocus, so, and the image stabilization, which was more important, right? Because even if it was manual focus, if it could do the stabilization and power that up through the lens, that was ideal, and it did work. So that's why I say glass before ass. The lenses, to me, should determine where you put like your money, right? And you said put your money where your mouth is. That's where my mouth is, in the lenses. Randall says Sigma 16, 30, and 56 f1.4 with the Mega DAP Easy 11 onto the Nikon Z6 II with Ecamm Live. Love it. Rivals the Nikon Primes f1.8. Look at that. That's so good to know, because Nikon is also like a lens company, right? If you look into the history of Nikon, you will also know that they were like had to do with World War II, and they were contracted by the military to create optics so that they can see ships, you know, out in the ocean and zoom in on them. So they were making periscopes pretty much, right? And that's what kept them in business. So lenses is always the big thing. Their primes are at f1.8, but I also have to agree with you that I think I love Sigma primes. I think Sigma has put all of their eggs into the lens basket, right? They have certain cameras that they don't do too well, right? Let's be real. Their full frame little compact camera leaves a lot to be desired. But their technology, their advances in optics and clarity of lenses, absolutely love them. And one thing that I mentioned is that I also feel that because they don't try to stabilize their lenses through, you know, like image stabilization built into the lens, is why the size of the lens is all like optics, and you're getting such a crystal clear image. Like they're literally putting all of their effort into the lenses and the optics themselves, which is why I absolutely love the way those things look. Okay, Jose, what happened to my fireplace? I'm switching it up because fireplace is mostly for like the holiday season, right? And it just got so hot over here already. I was like, look, I don't even want fake fire to represent and create heat on the set. Like, not even the fake fire. Oh, but yeah, no, it's just different things. As you can see, I changed my lighting. You see, like this hue coming around and changing things up. It's always a work in progress, and I have fun kind of tearing things down like this. This is a new addition, Charles. This is my new softbox that is like, I'm able to fit it here comparative to the one that I had made before. So I have that one. I have this Godox. Actually, they're both Godox. So I have my new soft boxes with the grids here, using the same exact lights. So the lights that were inside of my lamp and the light that was inside my foam core softbox were taken out, and those same lights are the ones that are now in these soft boxes, giving me this nice soft glow. Yep. Says he's changing it up. I like the new scene. Well, thank you. I do too. This light is one that, let me show you guys, is what really makes the difference. As you can see, I just turned it off and it's sitting so you wouldn't see it, but as you can see, that's kind of the natural lights, but this is the light that I'm talking about. It's called a Salipt, right? It looks just like my Ulanzi light, like my mini focus light, and FYI, I did a comparison of these two lights, mini focus, of the internals, and that's what I was working on all this week. It will be coming out, I believe, for Wednesday, so that's Wednesday's video. I'm trying to once again get like a week up. I tried to do everything to finish that video by yesterday, but I finished it today, so now it's uploaded. If you are on my Discord, you have the ability to see it before it goes live, because as soon as I have all of the information and everything put in, which is probably something that I'm gonna have done either by tonight or by tomorrow, I'm going to put it into the Discord, and if you are part of my Discord, then you have the ability to watch the video before it goes public, kind of as like a little, you know, sneak peek for the Camera Junkie crew. That's part of the Discord. I'm trying to actively use Discord more myself to implement all of these things. Like I just realized that Discord really, I didn't pay attention to it, so I didn't even post. Aiden, we're good? Well, that I didn't even post my live stream into my own Discord, which is right. That's unacceptable. So I got to get to that. Okay, hopefully we got this taken care of. Okay, John's got a question. Says, dreaming question. If Sony asked you to pick one camera from their lineup in the last 3 years to review, which one would you choose? I would have to ask you a question. Would only their hybrid cameras be allowed, or is there cinema cameras available? Because if it is just a hybrid, of course I'm probably gonna go with the Sony A1, right, to really see what is the best that Sony has to offer, right? It's like saying, yeah, you could drive around in a very good Camry, but if you get a chance to drive a Ferrari or a Formula One car or something like a Bugatti Veyron, something, you know, just for a test spin, yeah, let's take out the best of the best, right? But that was something that I was gonna touch into, like, kind of as like my final like thought, which was, where do cinema cameras fall into play? Because that's where I'm torn the most, right? If Sony were to ask me to pick a camera, I would say Sony A1. If not, I would probably check out like an FX6 or an FX9 to see what those cameras are capable of, to see what Sony has to do with cinema. And that's where my mind also drifted to, like, just naturally, which was to the cinema line. Like, if I can start all over again, budget wasn't an issue, I would have to really look at my use case scenario. And if it was that I wanted to get more into like what I'm starting now, my production company, shooting videos that are extremely high quality, I think I would probably go DJI. I think I would go with their Cinema 4D camera, this $12,000 camera with all the bells and whistles, because it also caters to what I like. Like, the one thing that camera does not do, right, that I do is take photos. It is not a photo camera. There's no button. There's not even like a shutter. Hey, take a picture from this, like while you're recording video. No, nothing. It is literally straight a video camera. But that camera it just sits in the back of my head of just like, that is an amazing piece of hardware. Like the Cinema 4D on top of that has that LiDAR detection system. So now I would have the ability to take this bad boy right here, right? The Helios 44M-4 vintage lens and throw that onto that camera, throw a gear on it, and have autofocus. The same type of autofocus that you can comparable to what you're seeing right now through their LiDAR system. I can sit that camera down on my desk, right? And have the head just like follow me around as I talk and walk and talk with my hands as a Puerto Rican would do, right? So there's so many options of what is possible with that camera. $12,000 I think is like the going price for it, with the like wireless monitor that you can attach the handles to, and then it's like an entire production machine that can be utilized by one person, which is what I am, for everything that has to do cinema. Has lenses that are already capable with good focal lengths that I like to adapt right onto that body and work perfectly with the gimbal. And then there's another channel that, because hey guys, it's what I do, right? I don't watch television, but I'm constantly trying to feed my curiosity of what could be done with photography and video. And that's why I do this, because I'm always just sharing my ideas and what is possible. There's a channel called let me see if I can get this right. I think it's called Adam's Big Boy. And let me see here. I'm literally going to YouTube right now to check my subscriptions. I'm at 360 subscriptions. I gotta hone this in. Because there's not enough time in the day for me to watch all my subscriptions. So I have to be very selective. And a lot of them I watch in 2 times speed or like 1.5 speed. Let me see. Just trying to scroll through here. The reason why I'm even mentioning this guy, Adam's Big Boy, is because he's taken this camera and he's put rails, or like the rods that you would normally put on a cinema camera, and created a rig to house full-on cinema lenses. So even the lenses that this camera would not be able to hold onto it because of the size of the lens, the weight, and the motors that is designed for this gimbal, he was able to create a system where he is able to put on full on like Cook size cinema lenses onto the Cinema 4D and start using that full frame sensor, start using LiDAR, autofocusing with these huge cinema lenses. It's amazing. Let me just see if I could find the name. Just giving a quick scroll, and I don't see it. I could have passed it already. Okay, I'm just gonna continue. But you know what? I'll probably put it in the Discord as well, because talking about that, there's something that I haven't done in the last couple of weeks, right? Which is Cities Go. A couple of weeks ago, I had the idea, of who I was going to mention for Cities Go, which is, for those of you who don't know, channels that I think you should go and watch. So Cities Go, who we have is none other than Senor Tom Buck, That's who I actually put in a couple of weeks ago on the Discord, because I've been listing all of the channels. As like I said, I'm putting everything on Discord. It's one location where I can put everything, and it makes it easier for me to convey all of this information to you. So if you're interested, definitely check out my Discord. And let me see if Discord opened. Okay, don't switch. Come on, don't. Okay, give me 1 second here because I forget it myself. There we go. Okay, so I just copied that information. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting that link into the chat. So that's my Discord link. And for those of you, you can find the section in the Discord there that says Cities Gone, just like I said, channels that I think you should go and watch. A lot of you here from the Camera Junkie crew know the crew member Tom Buck. He's an amazing content creator, and he's someone who's helped me out, particularly when it comes to everything that you see here, from inspiration to learning these devices, getting more information, and even just a different perspective of how to use the equipment that we all love. So definitely go check him out. And if you click into the Discord, you will see all the previous channels like Raphael Ludwig, Hellier Smith, and Tom is in there. There's going to be more channels, just so you know, that are more particularly based to what I'm also doing more now, which is like video editing. So I'm gonna share with you all of the editors that I follow and that I learn from, that inspire me just as well. So everything is gonna be shared through the Discord, because it's just, for right now, it's looking like it's going to be the easiest thing for me, being a one-man band, to be able to like centralize all of the things that I'm doing and all of the things that I want to, you know, give to you. So Richard says that he would choose the Sony A1. Yeah, but you know, prior to my rent, like if it was just a hybrid camera and I could just check which one, it would be the A1. John said yeah, I love the A1 too. There's so many out there, A1, A7 III, right, A4. Yeah, and that has nothing to do with like the secret ones that they're coming out with. So definitely super interested in like what all of these camera companies, like honestly, I still have like a soft spot for Nikon, so I wouldn't mind even checking out that Z9. But the one thing that really bothers me with the Z9 is that, you know, even if you were to like fall in love with the camera, save all your money and just, I'm gonna buy this camera, you can't, because like there's no availability of it from the manufacturer. Not because of chip shortages or anything like that, because they've been having problems producing their cameras from even the Z6 and the Z6 II. I believe, you know, Randall could even vouch for that. Okay, so Sly says Tom Buck compared the Deity Wireless to the Rode Wireless. Sound-wise, they're very close, and the Rode has a stronger signal. But my arm is only about 25 inches, so either one would be fine. See, that makes a lot of sense. There's also, look, a Pico, like Piko, I think is the brand. I just heard about this microphone just this past week on a live stream with Katie and Jill, and she was talking about this little pack. I'm really interested because it looks like the wireless goes, except the receiver is where you charge the microphone as well. And when you clip it on, it literally looks like you're just wearing a pen in your shirt, and you know, like the little part that would stick out and hold your pen in, right, the actual clip, that's the microphone. So just that little part, and then all of the battery and components sticks behind it, and then the microphone is not being muffled by your clothes because it's literally facing the correct direction. I was like, that seemed like a very cool little system. So I would definitely take a look at that. You know why I'm laughing. This is the best comment right now. Oh, that's hilarious. Like, I wouldn't trust that Tom guy. What's up, bro? You know, it's funny because I'm glad that you stopped by. It was like 2 weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, oh, I gotta put Tom on the thing, and I got so wrapped up that as soon as I hit like end stream, I'm looking at my stream deck and I see this, right? Like the city's gone. I'm like, oh man. So then I was like, oh, I gotta get him next week, and then totally forgot about it again. So I need to get better on my run of shows so that I don't forget these things. Okay, so Deonta says, yeah, the new on the camera shotgun mic that released, it's $99, called the Rode Video Mic Go 2. I've heard nothing but good about it so far, and they're calling it the Mini NTG. Nice. Because the NTG is also like one of the favored on-camera shotgun microphones, but they're a little expensive and pretty big too. That's one thing that, you know, I always have to put into emphasis. Size has so much to do with your experience with the camera, because if the camera's too bulky that you don't want to take it anywhere, you're not going to use it, and then that's not. Sly is laughing as well. So, LOL, hi Tom, thanks for the video. It helped me decide which way to go. Okay, see, that's cool. And Tom's asking which one she got. Kombucha is in the house. Now, I gotta give Kim. Kim's been a little MIA. And I saw her in a live stream the other day. She said hi. I was on the road driving, so I really couldn't at anyone. But it's so nice to see you hanging out again, and a pleasure to have you here hanging out. So just I am doing well, and I wish you all the same. I know you're doing fine too, because newlywed, so I know that your time is being consumed in other things, and you know, spending time with your new husband, which I wish you all the best. I'm so happy for you. Sly says the deity. Where's the mouse? Okay, there we are. Tom says the deity is so good. I did a great job with that one. Mario Crespi is in the house saying hi to me and to friends. And Sammy Superstar also made it. How are you doing, Sammy? Kathy saying, hey, Luz, popping by to say hey. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. How far back am I on these? I don't think I'm too far behind on the messages here. No, I just found my Discord one. Okay, Deity does a great at limiting Rode after they come out with the original design. In my opinion, Rode has better support than Deity. In addition, Deity does not make their own microphone capsules. That's interesting. Tom says, I love that Rode makes their own stuff in Australia. That's true, yeah. Like, the two companies have fun back and forth, though. There have definitely been times where Rode showed up with a product very similar to Deity's. Oh, so you see? It goes both ways. I would love to, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I would love to know which one that would be. Because that you sparked my curiosity. John saying, Tom's a natural teacher. That he is. But is it natural when he was educated to be a teacher? No, but he's awesome anyways. Glad that he moved from the classroom to YouTube. That's why he's like, he just moved, he just shifted professions, right? He just changed his students' demographic. He went from 16 to 18-year-olds to 18 to 40-something-year-olds. I'm being nice, right? I'm 40 myself, so 40-something-year-olds. Says, yes, Tom Buck is definitely a channel worth subscribing. He's got great content. Awesome content. Doc Rock is in the house. Says, y'all still haze, but I can hear. He says that because he just got LASIK eye surgery. So glad to hear that you're doing good and that you're getting better. Can't wait to, talk to you some more next week and see that you should be at 100%. I want to see what you're gonna start looking like on stream without your glasses. So you might have to pull a Keith Pelzer for a while and just pop the lenses out and just hold on to the frames for a minute so we get used to you. Says, today I was going to buy another Rode Wireless Go 2, but ended up buying the new Mackie Element Wave Lav that uses Zenhire Lav capsules instead. Very interesting. Doc says, don't buy the mini NTG, just get the NTG. We don't use the E-words, Louis. I don't remember what. You see, it came out naturally, so I digress. I'll leave that alone. Yes, sir. It says the new Rode VM2 is more than a deity steal. Okay, inspiration than new versions of the Rode VM1. What? The new Rode VM2. What is that? I don't think I've been that much out of the loop, right? Because usually when new stuff like this comes out, I'm up on it, but it's been a hell of a week for me as well. So it says the new Rode Video Micro 2 or Video Mini 2 is more than the deity. Still okay inspiration than the new version from the Rode VM1. Okay, so I guess that we're talking about the like the video micros, which are the wireless ones, right? No, those are the wireless Go's. Because the wireless Go's are the ones that I'm still thinking about getting. Not so much for microphone, but for this instance right here, right? I'm still tethered to this, and every time that I go to do something so simple of just saying like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go do this or take care of Aiden, I have to disconnect. So I just disconnect, and now I don't hear anything of what's going on. So if there's a high pitch or something going on there, like I have no idea of what's going on. And what I'm thinking about doing is using the microphone in reverse. What I'm thinking about is that the signal that I'm getting from the computer to be sending it into the microphone input as if it were a lavalier microphone. That way, it will transmit that signal wirelessly to the receiver, which instead of putting on a computer, I'm going to put on my waist. Then connect my headphone to the port that would naturally go into the camera to do the recording, and that way I have a wireless transmission module sending my audio signals from my setup here wirelessly to me, giving me control and room over everything. That's what I plan on doing, and using the Rode Wireless Go or the Go 2s to do it, because I always like to have things double purpose, right? Or like, yeah, things pulling double duties where I'm using it for a wireless transmission, but it's still a wireless microphone, so that if I decide to use it for vlogging, it's an option that I also have a tool that I can use, but also looking to use it in a less conventional way. Oh, okay, so Doc was answering the question. Says, I asked what Rode stole from Deity. Okay, so that's very good to know. I'm gonna look those up. Charles says the next step up for Tom is teaching senior citizens with dementia. Come on, man. Just might not be too different from some high school kids, though. That is true. Don't ask Doc about that. Saturday class, right? The new Rode Video Mic 2 is kind of a jack move from Deity's design than the Rode design. Says Tom, please do and come help my mom. Stop calling me. Look at that. Oh man, but guys, let me know if you have any other questions about what was talked about here. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to put them in there as I check it out. I appreciate you as always for taking the time and hanging out with me. As you know, I've been trying to keep these things down to like around an hour, and we're at an hour and 15 minutes, and I am at the end of the chat. So I'm gonna go once again and just run through this here. And yeah, and put in a question if you have it. If not, as always, start saying, your farewells. I appreciate every single one of you. I had personally a rough week, when it comes to my own personal life situations, and things get tough, and you could feel unmotivated at times. But I could honestly tell you, I did my best to push through it. Even just less than an hour before I went live today, I'm getting things to distract me and put me in a not so great mental state. And I thank you all for being here, and I really can't tell you like how much I appreciate all of you, because it's already a cornerstone, a weekly routine, something that's such a big part of my life that it means that much to me. And being able to share it with all of you amazing people makes it worth it, makes it more than worth it every week. So thank you guys as always. Doc says, did you tell them to stop wasting the time and just buy Sony? Nope, that's not what I said, Doc. I said glass before ass. This optics are always more important than the camera body. Like, you can use a Sony, right? But if my favorite lens is a Helios, right? And just for instance, if a vintage lens is my favorite lens, I could pick any camera company. And if I could pick anyone, I would pick Sony. I have. But it just depends on what I was doing. I had mentioned probably before you got here that Cinema 4D from DJI is a very interesting camera. And if I was going to be doing more production and videography than photography, that would be something that really has my attention, for the reason that not only could I put Sony lenses that I have, but I could put Canon lenses, I could put vintage lenses. They all work, whether it's native through electronic autofocus or through their LiDAR system. It's a really amazing system. It's something that I think when my business gets to that point, you'll be seeing me make a video about me getting a camera like that. If at that time that's the one that's still around, probably, because that's something that I aspire to as well, right? I can't wait for my production company to reach the point where that's the camera that we need. So that's where I will probably say, because that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be using Sony. I already do that. Sly says, Lewis, you could just get a wireless earbud set with low latency and there's no lag. I've been researching those too. Okay, thank you for that information. I will definitely look into it. But you see, I'm going to look into that. But the other thing is that I think that I can do double duties with the microphones, right? Like, instead of just buying the microphones and the headphones, if I'm going to get the microphones, I could still use them for that feature. So it says, yeah, Lewis, do you pimp out your cameras? Well, if you're saying pimp them out, like pimping be pimping, I'm gonna get into that a little bit more. I'm going to actually, what I was thinking about doing was that, because I'm using this camera a little bit more for video, I have a cage, I have a couple of things. I think I'm gonna invest in some small rig, right? And probably put a couple of other things on here, maybe one of those small rig matte boxes put right onto the front to actually start utilizing it. The monitor, because you see that's the way I always think. I think about kind of like getting my gear to do more than one job, or how I'd be able to utilize it better. I have an HD monitor here that's for cameras, which is what's allowing me to see what's going on in front of my camera on the teleprompter. So this HD monitor is actually a camera HD monitor. So if I wanted to use it for a production, I already have a monitor that I'm making use of right now that I can have pull double duty as my videography HD cinema monitor on top of my camera as I do the recording to give me better imagery. It has everything in it similar to what these cameras have. So it has zebras, it has focus peaking, it has all the bells and whistles. I can put LUTs into it, and this camera does record in S-Log. So everything, I could build it out right here. And one of the things that I'm looking into as well is getting a follow focus so that I can better utilize my cinema lenses on the same setup and have the control of the focus wheel while I'm doing these video recordings. I'm practicing more and more every day, taking videos of Aiden. He's an amazing subject. So having such an amazing character here, giving me the ability to practice and work on my skills is things that I try to do as much as possible. So, you know, upgrade your skills before your gear. Boom. Okay. Marine X says, I used the Rode Go Wireless 2 with the this previous week at a huge conference. I was 15 away from my FX3. Got the worst audio ever. Thank goodness the transmitter records. Oh wow, you see, that's good to know. Doc is saying, bringing the Octava MK012 to Cali. How fast can we crank out that video? I just got my lens cut off. I just got my lenses cut off. That's what he's saying. If you're gonna buy a cinema camera, just go red. DJI is cute, but red is life. You know, that I've also heard as well. That comment didn't come up, that one, right? But red is life. What I've realized, right, is that if you buy a red camera, what you're doing is it's like you're buying a ticket to the club, right? You're like buying a ticket to this special party of red owners, and it's gonna give you opportunities that not other camera owners would have, whether it's just be to network or to actually rent out their gear, because red cameras are going to, like, even if you just have one as an investment, you can pay for it. It could pay for itself just by rental. So there are things like that, but I still got to tell you, like, when it comes to what a camera can do and the attention that it's got my mind running on, like what can be done with a one-person production, that DJI is something, you know. He also says, just ordered the Shinobi over the Ninja 5 because the Sony A7 IV video files are a treat to work with. No need external recorders on the V90 cards. Oh, nice. So you just got the monitor instead of the recorder because you just need the display. Okay, that's cool. Well, guys, that is it for this week. Doc says I got 2, so I'm up in the cloud. Oh, that's nice, man. Well, that's it for this week, everyone. As always, thank you. We started a little side conversation, but not too many questions. I'm gonna close it out here. Thank you all for hanging out with me. We're gonna be doing it again next week. As always, same time, same place, 11 p.m. Next week is week 65. Wow. You know, like, I see a lot of other, you know, live streams and things like that that are up in the hundreds. You know, some even in the 200s. I listen to the Banjo Scott podcast, and every Sunday he comes out with a new episode. I think he's like at 293 or 94, something like that. So it goes to show you I still have a long way, but I have fun every time I do it. I learn a little bit more every single time, different techniques and even different ways of lighting your environment, which I forgot to put my light back. And that's the aesthetic. There we go. That's the way that we're gonna finish things off. Okay. Okay, we have a couple of questions I'm gonna get to. Well, just one that says, "Hey MCJ, and all. A while back, I invested in Canon G7X and the 80D, but I recently switched to Sony ZV-E10. I was missing a lot of most things work out of the box and no pain to set up." Yeah, that's, I would have to say the same thing with ZV-E1 and all that. Sony's cameras are pretty much good right out of the box. You know, another thing that I'm going to touch in, so just a little hint, is why, you know, because a lot of people complain about Sony's LCDs not being of high quality. I have a theory. I'm going to do a little research, right? And everything that has to do with the Sony LCDs, I believe has to do with battery life. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to do a little bit more research before I put my foot in my mouth. I really think that the reason why Sony's cameras are the best when it comes to the battery life has to do with the fact that their LCDs are not requiring the most of the camera, allowing it to conserve battery life. Because my knowledge of fixing phones, I know that the number one consumer of your battery life on your iPhone is your backlight. So if Canon is putting all of this effort in a nice fancy LCD that's draining your camera, you really have to weigh, you know, the benefits. Is like, do I want a really nice screen on the back of my camera, or do I actually want to have battery life to actually take more video and photos that I know are gonna look great once I put them in my computer, right? All right, so I'll leave you guys with that one. Everyone's saying bye and good night. Good night, everyone. Here we go. Yep, and I will see you all next week. Thanks again. Have an amazing week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you next time. Wednesday's video is coming out. I'm dropping the link in the Discord for those of you who are there. If you want to watch it early before it is public, I will have that set up either by tonight or by tomorrow. So that's that. Guys, see you next Saturday. Until next time.